The crash landing, Marcus Reed wiped the sweat from his brow as he guided his salvage ship through the asteroid. Fields surrounding Zarian 7, the planet below, was a harsh world of red canyons and purple skies, known only to scavengers and outcasts, like himself. He had been tracking a distress signal for 3 days, hoping to find valuable tech or rare metals that would keep him fed for another month. The signal led him to a crash site in a deep canyon, where twisted metal and strange crystalline fragments were scattered across the rocky ground. This wasn't human technology. The sleek curves and bioorganic design told him this was something far more advanced than anything Earth had ever produced. As Marcus approached the wreckage with his plasma cutter ready, he heard a faint sound that made him freeze. It was soft and rhythmic, almost like breathing. Moving carefully around a large piece of debris, he saw her. She was unlike anything he had ever seen. Her skin had a subtle blue tint that seemed to shimmer in the fading light, and her hair was silver white like starlight. She was clearly humanoid, but taller and more graceful than any human. Her breathing was shallow and her clothes were torn, revealing wounds that glowed faintly with bioluminescent blood. Marcus hesitated. Salvage meant profit, and profit meant survival in this harsh galaxy. But looking at her unconscious form, he couldn't bring himself to simply take what he wanted and leave. She was alive, and that changed everything. Carefully, he knelt beside her and checked her pulse. Her heartbeat was strong but irregular, and her skin felt unusually warm. As he examined her wounds, her eyes suddenly snapped open, revealing irises that swirled like galaxies. She gasped and tried to scramble away from him, fear evident in her alien features. "Easy, easy," Marcus said, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "I'm not going to hurt you. My name is Marcus. What's yours?" She stared at him for a long moment, her breathing gradually slowing. When she spoke, her voice was melodic but strained. "Kestra," she whispered. You are human." Marcus nodded. "That's right." "What happened here? Your ship looks like it went through hell." Kestra's expression darkened and she looked away. "I was running. They found me anyway." She winced as she tried to sit up, and Marcus instinctively moved to help her. The moment his hand touched her arm, something extraordinary happened. For just an instant, their minds seemed to connect. Marcus saw flashes of her memories, a beautiful world of crystal cities, pursuit through space, and overwhelming fear. Kestra gasped and pulled away, but the connection had already formed something neither of them expected. "You felt that too?" she said, wonder replacing the fear in her voice. Marcus nodded slowly. "What was that?" "My people can share thoughts and feelings, but I have never felt such a connection with an alien before." She studied his face carefully. "Why did you not simply take what you wanted and leave me to die?" The question caught Marcus off guard. In his years as a salvager, he had learned to be practical above all else. Sentiment was a luxury he couldn't afford, but looking into Kestra's swirling eyes, he found himself giving the only honest answer he could. "Because leaving you would have been wrong." Bonds in the Wildernest makeshift shelter Marcus built from salvaged materials wasn't much, but it kept the worst of Zarian 7's harsh winds at bay. Kestra sat near their small thermal generator, her wounds slowly healing. Thanks to Marcus's medical supplies and her own alien physiology, 3 days had passed since the crash, and they had fallen into an easy routine of survival and conversation. Marcus watched as Kestra demonstrated her people's writing system, tracing glowing symbols in the air with her fingertips. Hung in space for several seconds before fading, leaving brief after-images that seemed to burn into his memory. "The Zephyrians have always been explorers," she explained, her voice carrying a note of sadness. "We believe that knowledge and beauty should be shared across the galaxy. But some of my people think differently now." "What do you mean?" Marcus asked, genuinely curious. In all his years traveling the outer systems, he had never encountered her species before. Kestra's expression grew troubled. "There is a faction that believes we should use our abilities to guide other species. They see humans and others as children who need our wisdom, whether they want it or not." She looked directly at him. "I refuse to join them. That is why they hunt me." Marcus felt a surge of protective anger that surprised him. So they're after you because you believe in freedom? Something like that? Kestra smiled, and Marcus felt his heart skip a beat. When she smiled, her whole face seemed to glow with inner light. You understand quickly, Fora. What did you call yourself? A salvager? Don't sound so surprised, Marcus said with a grin. We humans might not have telepathy, but we're not stupid. Their laughter filled the small shelter, and for a moment they could forget the danger that surrounded them. As the local sun set, painting the sky in shades of amber and violet, they sat closer together for warmth. The nights on Zarian 7 were brutal, and their small heater could only do so much. Marcus, Kestra said softly, may I share something with you? He nodded, and she gently placed her hand on his forehead. Immediately his mind was filled with visions of her homeworld, vast. Cities that grew like living coral, gardens where plants sang in harmony, and skies filled with beings who could fly on wings of pure energy. The beauty of it took his breath away. It's incredible, he whispered. No wonder you're homesick. I am not homesick, Kestra said, her hand still resting against his skin. I miss the beauty, yes, but home is not a place anymore. Home is. This being understood. Their eyes met in the flickering light of the heater, and Marcus felt something shift between them. Without thinking, he reached up and touched her face, marveling at the softness of her skin and the way it seemed to glow. At his touch, Kestra, he began, but she silenced him by leaning closer. I know this is strange, she whispered. My people do not usually form bonds with other species. But you, ... you make me feel safe. You make me feel like I'm not alone in this vast galaxy. Marcus's heart pounded as she moved even closer. I've been alone for so long, he admitted. I forgot what it felt like to care about someone. When their lips met, it was like nothing Marcus had ever experienced. There was the physical sensation, warm, and electric, but also something deeper. Through their connection, he could feel her emotions, gratitude, affection, something that might have been the beginning of love. They held each other as the alien wind howled outside their shelter. Two beings from different worlds who had found something precious in the most unlikely place. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, they were content to simply be together under the strange stars of Zarian 7. The hunter's pursuit Marcus woke to the sound of distant engines cutting through the morning air. Beside him, Kestra sat bolt upright, her alien features pale with terror. The intimate warmth they had shared through the night evaporated in an instant as reality crashed back down on them. They found me, she whispered, her telepathic abilities apparently confirming what the engines meant. We have to run. Now. Marcus was already moving, grabbing their essential supplies and his weapon. How many? He asked, as they quickly broke down their camp. Kestra closed her eyes, her face tense with concentration. 3 ships. They are ... very determined to bring me back. They fled deeper into the canyon system, Marcus leading the way through paths he had scouted during their 3 days together. The rocky terrain provided some cover, but he knew it wouldn't be enough. These hunters had technology far beyond his salvage tools. As they climbed through a narrow pass, Kestra stumbled, her healing wounds still slowing her down. Marcus immediately went to her side, supporting her weight as they continued their desperate flight. Leave me, she said, breathing heavily. You can hide. They only want me. Marcus's response was immediate and firm. Not happening. You do not understand, Kestra insisted, stopping to face him. They will kill you without hesitation. Your death would mean nothing to them. Then they'll have to go through me first, Marcus said, his jaw set with determination. I'm not leaving you, Kestra. Not now, not ever. She stared at him in amazement. Why would you risk your life for me? We have known each other for only days. Marcus cupped her face in his hands, looking directly into her swirling eyes. These have been the best days of my life, because for the first time in years, I have something worth fighting for. Before she could respond, the whine of approaching ships filled the air above them. Marcus pulled Kestra into a shallow cave, pressing his body against hers as they tried to make themselves invisible. Her heart was beating so fast, he could feel it against his chest. There is something else, Kestra whispered urgently. Something. I have not told you about why they want me. Marcus waited, even as the sound of the hunters grew closer. "I am not just a refugee," she continued. "I am the daughter of the council leader who opposed the faction. My genetic line carries the strongest telepathic abilities in generations. They want to use me to breed a new generation of loyal servants." The revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. "They want to force you to have children." Kestra nodded, tears forming in her alien eyes. "It is why I would rather die than be captured." In that moment, Marcus felt a rage unlike anything he had ever experienced. The thought of anyone forcing themselves on Kestra, of using her as some kind of breeding tool, made him want to tear the hunters apart with his bare hands. "That's never going to happen," he growled. "I promise you that." The first hunter appeared at the mouth of their hiding spot just as Marcus was speaking. The alien was tall and armored, with the same basic physiology as Kestra, but none of her grace or beauty. His face was scarred and his eyes were cold as winter starlight. "Kestra, of the third bloodline," the hunter called out in accented English, "you will come with us now, or your human pet will suffer greatly before he dies." Marcus stepped protectively in front of Kestra, his weapon raised. "She's not going anywhere with you," the hunter laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "A human wishes to challenge Zephyrian warriors? It should be entertaining." More hunters appeared behind the first, their advanced weapons trained on the small cave. Marcus knew he was outgunned and outnumbered, but he also knew he wouldn't back down. Some things were worth dying for, and Kestra was definitely one of them. "Last chance, human," the lead hunter said. "Step aside, and we will make your death quick." Marcus's response was to fire his plasma rifle directly at the hunter's chest, the battle for their freedom finally beginning in earnest. Standing together, first plasma blast caught the lead hunter by surprise, sending him stumbling backward with a smoking hole in his chest armor. Marcus didn't wait to see if the shot was fatal before diving to the side, pulling Kestra with him as return fire scorched the cave wall where they had been standing. "The narrow passage," he shouted over the sound of energy weapons. "They can't all fit through at once." Kestra nodded, and they fought their way deeper into the cave system, Marcus providing covering fire while she used her telepathic abilities to confuse and disorient their pursuers.
Ow.
The combination was devastatingly effective, turning the hunter's technological advantage into a liability in the cramped spaces. "How many left?" Marcus asked, during a brief lull in the fighting. Kestra's eyes glowed as she reached out with her mind. "8, but they are spreading out to surround us. Cannot run much further." Marcus checked his weapon's power cell and grimaced. He had maybe 20 shots left, and after that, they would be defenseless. But looking at Kestra, seeing the determination in her alien features, he felt his resolve strengthen. "Then we make our stand here," he said. "Together." She moved closer to him, and he could feel the warmth of her telepathic presence in his mind. "Marcus, if we do not survive this, I want you to know that these days with you have been the happiest of my life." He kissed her then, hard and desperate, pouring all his feelings into the gesture. When they broke apart, her eyes were shining with unshed tears. "We're going to survive this," he said firmly. "And then we're going to get off this rock and see the galaxy together." The hunters chose that moment to attack in force, coming at them from 3 different directions at once. Marcus fought like a man possessed, his plasma rifle spitting death while Kestra used her powers to turn their enemies against each other. One hunter suddenly screamed and began firing at his own companions, his mind overwhelmed by her telepathic assault. But there were too many of them, and they were too well trained. Marcus felt a searing pain in his shoulder as an energy blast found its mark, spinning him around and sending him crashing to the ground. His weapon went flying into the darkness. "Marcus," Kestra cried out, dropping to her knees beside him. The remaining hunters emerged from cover, their leader a new figure with elaborate armor and cruel eyes. "Enough games," he said in perfect English. "The human is wounded. Surrender now, or watch him bleed to death." Kestra looked down at Marcus, her face torn with anguish. He could see her wavering, ready to sacrifice herself to save him. "Don't you dare," he whispered, gripping her hand with his good arm. "We're stronger together, remember?" Something in his words seemed to spark a new determination in her. Kestra stood slowly, her whole body beginning to glow with telepathic energy. The air around them started to vibrate with power. "You want me?" she said to the hunters, her voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. "Then come and take me." What happened next was beyond anything Marcus had ever witnessed. Kestra unleashed the full power of her bloodline, her mind reaching out to crush the will of every hunter simultaneously. They screamed and clutched their heads as she invaded their thoughts, showing them their own deepest fears and turning their weapons on each other. In less than a minute, it was over. The hunters lay unconscious or dead around them. Defeated by the combined fury of a human's love and an alien's power decapsed beside Marcus, the effort having drained her completely, he gathered her into his arms despite his wounded shoulder, holding her close as they both trembled with exhaustion and relief. "Is it over?" she whispered. Marcus looked around at the fallen hunters, and up at the alien sky visible through a crack in the cave ceiling. "For now," he said, "but we should probably get off this planet before more of them show up." Kestra laughed weakly, the sound like music to his ears. "Where shall we go?" "Anywhere you want," Marcus replied, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. "The galaxy is a big place, and I hear there are lots of worlds that need exploring." New Horizons Sin. Month later, Marcus stood on the observation deck of their newly acquired ship, watching the stars wheel by as they traveled through hyperspace. Tra emerged from the navigation chamber, her wounds fully healed and her face bright with excitement. "The next system has 3 inhabited worlds," she reported, moving to stand beside him at the viewport. 2 of them have never made contact with either humans or Zephyrians. Marcus smiled and put his arm around her waist, marveling as he always did at how perfectly she fit against his side. "First contact missions, huh? Think we're qualified for that kind of work?" "I think we are qualified for anything, as long as we face it together," Kestra replied, leaning into his embrace. Their ship, purchased with the bounty on the hunters who had pursued them, was small but well-equipped for exploration. They had spent weeks planning their future, deciding to become independent scouts and diplomats for species, wanting to make peaceful contact with the galaxy at large. "Have you heard from your people?" Marcus asked, a question he had been wanting to pose. For days that expression grew thoughtful. "Yes, actually. The council has officially condemned the faction that hunted me. They want me to return home to help rebuild our diplomatic corps." Marcus felt his heart sink. "And what did you tell them?" "I told them that I had found something more important than politics or power," she said, turning in his arms to face him directly. "I told them that I had found love, and that my place was here with you among the stars." The relief that flooded through Marcus was almost overwhelming. "You turned down a chance to go home for me?" "Home is not a place, remember," Kestra said, echoing her words from their first night together. "Home is being with the person who makes you feel complete." They kissed as the stars streamed past their viewport to beings from different worlds who had found something precious in the vast darkness of space. When they finally broke apart, Kestra was glowing softly with contentment. "So what now?" Marcus asked. "We've got the whole galaxy ahead of us. Now we explore," Kestra said with a smile that could have lit up solar systems. "We make contact with new species. We share knowledge and beauty across the stars, and we show the galaxy that love can bridge any distance." Marcus nodded, feeling more content than he had ever thought possible. His days as a lonely salvager were behind him now, replaced by a future full of possibilities and adventures shared with the woman he loved, as their ship dropped out of hyperspace near their first destination. Marcus and Kestra stood together at the controls, ready to face whatever wonders the universe might offer them. They had started as strangers from different worlds, but they had become something greater, partners, explorers, and proof that sometimes the most unlikely connections could grow into the strongest bonds. The stars called to them with endless possibilities, and they answered together, writing their own love story across the cosmic dark.